know things, I know some too. Sit right down, the femsplain 'em to you. If there's a thing you want to explain, these two feminists can entertain. Nerdy stuff, sexy stuff, so much to know. Tune in for the Femsplain Show.
Femsplain!
Why'd you throw off the countdown?
Did I? I'm sorry.
Your space between 3 and 2 was way too long.
I'm white. I can't count. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Diana.
Oh, good evening, Avalon. I like your spooky
Dracula.
voice.
I'm a Dracula.
You're a Dracula? Oh, you're a Nosferatu.
I am. That's how I feel.
Oh.
That's how I feel. That's how I look.
No. Oh, God. All right. Don't make me fight you on this
I
podcast.
feel like I look. All right. What? Wait. Podcast?
Yeah. We're doing a podcast, Avalon. Oh, sorry.
Shit. I didn't remember that. I thought we were just having a candid conversation. I might have said something very revealing and embarrassing.
I mean, like we always do. But this podcast kind of is a candid conversation. It's like a girls only clubhouse podcast where yeah.
And who's in this girls only clubhouse podcast?
No, it's me and you, Avalon.
And we
Diana.
identify as?
Well, I don't want to speak for you, Avalon, but like I personally identify as a queer femme human being.
Human. Right. And so we are having this podcast because we feel like claiming space, and that's what we've done.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it.
Yeah. But we would like you to. And if you and it doesn't mean that we don't want people of every gender and non-gender to listen and laugh and learn with us, because we love y'all. We just think it's important for us to have these candid conversations on this candid podcast.
What kinds of things do we normally talk about? Like nerd stuff, poop.
I mean, in one episode, that more than
Did we
some.
talk about poop?
I have to assume at some point it's come up.
I don't know.
I'm
a little funny about poop.
You're a little silly about it?
I
Or
don't
you're
like
funny?
toilet humor.
You
I'm
don't?
a lady.
I love toilet humor. I'm a lady. So this is how.
There you go.
This is how
Great. And welcome to
differences.
Femsplained, listeners.
Welcome to Femsplained.
We're feeling. Well, I'm feeling a little loopy, a little tired. We're not recording terribly late at night, but it just had a week. So
Yeah.
if things are a little silly, a little incoherent, a little bit like boring, I don't know, if we lose our train of thought, who knows? That's why, listeners.
It won't be any different from any other time you've listened to this podcast where we've been loopy, forgotten what the fuck we're talking about, and have gone wildly off topic. So, before we talk about topics, I wanted to talk about our new segment.
Yeah.
And I want to know, Avalon, what has nerd culture done for you lately?
Well, I don't know if it will come across in the editing of last week's episode, but I totally blanked on my answer last week, and I had things that I just didn't say. So I'm just going to say the things that I should have said last week.
Okay.
First, Francis the Mansplainer is overly obsessed with Nintendo at this point. This is a fairly new thing, but it's a deep dive.
It's real.
And so he's been immediately purchasing like every Switch game that comes out, blah, blah, blah. So the day that the new Mario Party game came out, we hosted a Super Mario Party with lots of people. We had 3 screens playing the new Mario Party. It was really fun.
That's
so
awesome.
We've been playing that. What I really like about the game, there aren't enough boards, but there are tons of mini games, but you don't have to play like a board, whatever, to play the mini games. It has its own little thing you can go to, and you can choose of all of the mini games specifically which ones you want to play.
Oh, I like that.
I guess theoretically you can practice at it, but also you can have a lower commitment sort of fun party experience. And I dig it a lot. I have also I've returned to and am trying to watch the animated Clone Wars series.
Oh, how do you like it?
So this is what I've been told. I've been told that it's fantastic. after like the second season.
Yeah.
Did I talk about this last week?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm having weird deja vu. And that before then, it's like, it thinks it's going to be for kids, but it's not really for kids, and it has sort of an identity crisis. But then I've been told that once you get past that initial hump, it becomes like way more political and great and blah, 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 and gives you a lot of context for what happened between episodes 2 and 3, as well as with all of the time jump movies that are coming out in the franchise right now. For instance, like Solo was the hottest garbage, the worst.
I didn't see it because I heard that, but I really don't want it to be. I want everyone to be wrong and to be liars.
I will break up with you if you think it's not that bad. But there's something in it that happens that if you don't know that much about Star Wars, seems odd. And so I was talking to one of my bosses at one of my jobs about it, and he said if you watch Clone Wars, that sort of makes sense. So I decided to give it another shot. So I'm at the beginning of season 2, and it is getting a little bit better.
That's awesome. One of my favorite actor humans on this earth is in that series, and he apparently does a phenomenal job at Darth Maul. Sam Witwer from Being Human, the US version.
Oh, nice. I have not gotten to Darth Maul yet, so yeah. I will keep an eye. I am way more cognizant of voice actors now because of Critical Role, and I'm always like...
Yeah, doesn't it make you crazy? I realized yesterday, I'd mentioned to someone, I was talking about how I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn and how Ashley Birch is the voice of the main character, and I was like talking about how much I love her and how she's in so many things that I love, and I realized that she's Tiny Tina from Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aw.
Laura's somebody also.
Probably, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So, otherwise, if school counts as nerd culture, I've had a lot of really fulfilling, nerdy, academic things happen.
I think especially when you're talking about, like when you're in, like, grad school stuff, everything you do in school is super nerdy. Because it's so much, like, research and work and... Yeah.
I have to teach learn to code workshops at one of my jobs, and I am not qualified for it, and that happened last week, and I almost had a panic attack.
Avalon is super qualified for it.
Not qualified.
You are.
Not qualified.
Your imposter syndrome is leaking.
I know, but it's hard when you set this precedence of having low self-esteem. People don't believe you when you tell them you're bad at something, but I need you to know that I'm bad at this thing.
Like, would it make you happy if right now I was like, yeah, Avalon's bad at
it? A little bit, yeah. If we could say oh, Avalon, you're so good at so many other things, like talking and being hilarious. But no, I don't know how to code well enough to teach a room full of people how to code.
You brought back the second-rate Hermione Granger in this episode.
That is my only accent. It's a bad Hermione Granger. I'm the worst at accent.
I'm weirdly practicing them a lot for no reason at all.
There you go. Maybe this whole deep dive into Critical Role has made us so single white female-y about the cast that now we want to be voiceover actors.
Oh, God, no, I definitely don't want to do that. It sounds nightmarish.
Don't you love the sound of your voice on the podcast so much?
No, I hate that. Oh, yeah. God. I'm only listening to it for you. Yeah.
That's all I can think of. Next week, I'll remember what I should have said about this week. What has nerd culture done for you lately, Diana?
Oh, man. Okay, so not too much has happened in the last week, but the Cogs Expo did decide that we're doing another mini gaming con, so I'm really excited about that. We're in the early stages of planning that. It's going to be in February, and it's going to be right on Valentine's Day weekend. So if you are a nerd and you are alone, you come hang out with me, who is also a nerd and alone. We will play games.
But you don't know that you'll be alone 6 months from now. By 6, I mean 4.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, but I'm making a educated guess. I play a lot of D&D. We're going to be doing a Valentine's Day event, and it's going to be great. I'm very excited about it. And then the other thing that I'm very, very happy and excited about is that and you reminded me of this. I just purchased my last little item that I need for this costume. On November 3rd, I'm going to a like Hogwarts themed party that
Fuck you!
is gonna be so good because the people that are throwing it are like so extra and so good. Like they made me a Hogwarts, acceptance letter and mailed that. And literally there's no difference between that and the actual Hogwarts letter. So like if I did not know that this person was throwing a party, I would not know that I'd been invited to a party because it just looks like a Hogwarts letter. And so I don't own a Hufflepuff scarf yet for some fucking reason. So I just bought
get
one.
some yellow garbage.
No, I want a Hufflepuff
And that'll
scarf.
be the perfect Hufflepuff outfit.
No,
Just a yellow trash bag.
Yeah. Don't be so fucking mean, Avalon.
Oh my god, it's so cool to be Hufflepuff. Everybody's Hufflepuff. Everybody on the internet is just such a Hufflepuff.
First of all, when did that happen? Because everybody is Gryffindor or Slytherin.
No, everybody's a Hufflepuff and it's annoying.
First of all, nobody's Hufflepuff. Who is a Hufflepuff besides me?
First of all, the Pottermore algorithm, JK has said there's a higher likelihood of getting Hufflepuff than any other house.
Oh, that's super weird. I did
JK has
do that thing.
self-identified as a Hufflepuff. And all of the really, really shitty webcomics out there in the world are like, underrated Hufflepuff, Hufflepuff's the best, so underrated Hufflepuff. Like, to the point where it's like, yeah, now you are the majority. You're the wasps.
Good. We're good people who love each other. And you.
Just boring catch-all people who can't commit to something.
Look, we wrote...
Like, and by something, I mean a personality.
Look, we have a personality. It's flaky and adorable. And that's our personality.
It's just a lazy catch-all.
No, we're loyal and we're...
Well, they're all loyal.
Loving.
They're all loving.
No, I'm sorry. That's not one of the defining traits.
Only one's capable of love is Hufflepuff. They all demonstrate it.
They all can demonstrate it, but Hufflepuff...
And they all demonstrate loyalty in their own way.
In their own way, but there are some things... It's not like, fucking Hufflepuffs and Gryffindors can't be, like, determined also, but that's not their, like, forefront trait.
Hufflepuff is literally everything else.
I mean, well, first of all, this is just a horoscope. but
Yes,
like,
but as we've discussed...
Horoscopes are real.
Listen, is the sort of like how's your day gonna go aspect of a horoscope real? No. But is the self-fulfilling prophecy of the personality type associated with your sign real? Absolutely.
Typical Scorpio.
It's funny, I mean, I think horoscopes are bullshit, except, like, when it feels like it matches, it's fun or whatever. But I did recently, there was a reason for me to think about, like, my own procreation schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's been narrowed down past, like, the year, sort of to, like, the half year or month. And then I had a moment where I was like, but wait, what sign would my kid be?
Oh, dear.
And I looked at, like... I wouldn't actually change for that. But, like, I just, whatever. What if it's, like, a fucking Aquarius? I'll have to, sell them.
Yeah.
To a factory. So, but then what I found was actually, like, super validating for the compatibility of our personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was, like, feeling weirdly committed to it having to be that.
What was it gonna be?
A Taurus.
Okay.
You aside, blah, blah, blah. Some of my favorite people in my life have been Tauruses. In, like, a big way. So.
I don't take offense. You can have other favorite people that aren't me. It's okay. I'm cool with it.
I would take offense. I don't like you having any friends.
Mission accomplished. We're good. Everything's fine.
I'm playing the long game.
You're the only one.
Super isolated.
Yeah. Just like Scorpios.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
I don't know if you're a Gemini, because the only other Gemini I know, I hate so much.
Yeah, it's a really fine line. So Geminis are like, the joke is that they're a split personality, but really it just makes them flaky. Like we are flakes.
But you're not flaky.
Oh, I'm so fucking flaky. Not with you. With you, we're super intensely emotional.
Okay.
So, but also we change our mind like minute to minute about fucking everything. And that's very real.
But you have so much conviction.
Yeah, and then my mind changes, and then I'm equally as convicted.
Interesting.
And it's really like, I mean, canceling plans is crack cocaine to me.
Really?
Yeah, that's like.
Oh, that doesn't seem like you at all.
Yeah, that's because with you, I love you. I love you the most, and you're the most important person in the world.
But I cancel plans with you. It has nothing to do with love. It has everything to do with lazy.
Yeah. See, I cancel plans because I just
depression.
Like. Yeah. I mean, I think being a Gemini means that you have mental illness, but yeah, I think that's the thing. And it can either come off as really endearing and really like, quirky, manic pixie dream girlish, which I think I sometimes come across that way at first, but really I'm crazy. So, it's a fine line, really. And Geminis and Scorpios are dangerous. There's a super like stereotypical chemistry between Geminis and Scorpios.
Like what kind?
It's usually sexual, but that's typically because Scorpio men are the most trash you'll ever meet.
Scorpio
in your
is
life.
the sexual sign.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They're the sex sign, and Geminis are empaths. So like whatever emotion Scorpio is having, Gemini is gonna have. Yeah. So they wind up having like super intense chemistry, but also like screaming fights and like bad, like.
Well, Scorpios are also like super manipulative and like very, very like intensely aware.
Yeah, like. That. Yeah, of how to do that. And Geminis are just like, they acquiesce. They go with the fucking flow of whatever is happening. So yeah, it's like it is a running joke. I mean, that's why Gemini and Scorpio, the event company, is called that. It's because like it's synonymous with like sexual chemistry as Gemini and
Interesting.
Scorpio.
I thought that I thought that the founders, like that was just their signs or something. I thought it was arbitrary.
Yeah, no, it's sex.
So I saw like a meme within the last half hour that had, the different signs and like an image, which usually crack me up. But this was witches. Have you seen this?
Yes. Oh, and
You're Sabrina.
I'm Sabrina. Yeah.
I was mad about that and I didn't understand it.
And like, what was yours?
Jealous. That bad lady from The Craft.
First of all, she's the bomb. Like, yes, I know.
The bomb.
She's the bomb. I know that she's like evil, but I love that actress. I think she's so.
I love that
cool.
actress too, but I think that character is bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's a bad person, but she's also a cool character. Like, she gets fucking Manon's powers. Like, she's fucking cool.
And to be fair, like, she really fucking deserved it.
Yeah.
That's a weird tale of privilege.
Yeah.
Because her fucking friend was just gifted enough to beat her, even though she did, like, a lot of really hard work.
Yeah, she did a lot of hard work. She sacrificed a lot for Manon, and she, like, fucking went into the fucking sea and spent a night with the fucking angels. Like, she's pretty badass. And she killed a sexual assaulter, too, didn't she?
Did she kill him?
It's been a while. She fucked with him massively.
She definitely fucked him up.
Yeah, she fucked up the guy who sexually assaulted her friend. So she, she's pretty badass.
No, but she just like, I wish that she had some like a little bit of either a redemption arc or like was a little bit more of an anti-hero. Mm-hmm. She was just like in the end and in the final conflict and stuff. Like she was like trying to be like trickstery and like be like, oh, I'm changed, whatever, and then like stab the girl just because she was jealous. Like, I don't know, she just was a little kooky. I wish she had a little bit more of a redemption arc.
Yeah, it's very true. Like the other two girls were very much like,
right,
like they had more of a, they were still kind of, they were bitches, I guess, if I had to quote it. They were they were mean, but they had some redemption. They were not bad people.
You should rewatch it.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Up.
It's been a while.
This is a great segue into our topic of the week, which is Charmed.
It's not.
It would have been, though.
It would have been a great segue, but it's not. What is our actual topic? Can we get a man?
In a mansplain minute. Ooh, everything's explained. In a mansplain minute. Ooh, tell the ladies what to say. In a mansplain minute. Putting 1 minute on the man watch and go. Peter Pan. Who cares? This is just one of those inexplicable Diana things that I don't even know how to mansplain. So I guess I'll just say it's a short story that spawned a kind of racist Disney movie and a really solid Robin Williams jaunt. Although when you go back, actually you start to notice that some of like the stuff that Spielberg chose to do in that film is a little inexplicable. Like it's just too red at times or too blue at times. He's just using these weird filters. Oh, sorry, did you not go to film school? I mean, I didn't either, but I did take a few semesters of photography, and I mean darkroom photography. I mean digital too, yes, but you gotta really learn to use the medium as it was intended, you know, really get in there, dig into that film. Also, I watch a ton of YouTube videos about movies, so it's kind of like I went to film school. Anyway, I don't know why Diana loves this thing so much, but get ready for a long episode about that very question. And that's your Mansplain Minute.
So, I don't care what Francis said, because I don't know what Francis said, but I'm so psyched about this topic.
I know, this is your bread and butter.
This is my everything. This is my whole life, is loving Peter Pan. That's it. That's all I've done for the last 31 years is love Peter Pan, and I'm so fucking excited to talk about it.
You're not wrong.
Well,
it is
so
all
much.
you've accomplished.
Man, I wish I could really sum it up for you. So Peter Pan is something that is an obsession with me because it's something that's like pretty much everybody has a like casual relationship to or awareness of, but like that nobody has ever read the fucking source material. Like it's such a weird thing to me that you will meet every single person that you will meet in your life knows what Peter Pan is, and then like the number of people that you will meet who have read JM Barrie's original book is like gonna be a minuscule fraction of that.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
That's so exciting to me.
I'm smart.
You're a smart cat.
But I mean, me having read it does not make me have the level of investment that you do or the level of knowledge.
That's true. So I remember this like weirdly pivotal moment in my life where I was like, I don't know, something like 14 or 15. I was something in my angsty years, like emerging in my angsty years. And I had loved Peter Pan growing up. I fell in love with the Mary Martin live play rendition. I was super into Hook, the hilarious and ingenious
Best
Robin
movie
Williams.
ever made.
Yeah, great. So I was in love with those things and had seen the Disney movie that most everyone is familiar with. I would say that's like probably the way most people have ingested it. And then I was hanging out in what was at the time like my dad's office in our house because he worked from home, and looking through the shelves, and some of my childhood books were on those shelves, and I found like my original copy of JM Barrie's Peter Pan that I guess I had like colored all over like the cover of, like, and clearly had not read when I was a kid. And I picked it up and I was like, oh, I ruined this really cool looking book. That's sad. And because it was very like fancy looking.
Yeah.
And then I picked it up and I opened it and I started reading it, and I read it in like 2 hours. And like I just like sat down thinking like, oh, this book is really pretty. Why did I ruin it, child me? And then sat down and fucking absorbed it and was blown away by the juxtaposition between what I remembered about this character Peter Pan from the Disney film, from Mary Martin's adaptation, to what I was reading in these pages. And I was like, whoa, Barrie, you fucked up. Yeah. My dude. So that fascinated me, and my obsession just did not die. I read and reread that book over and over again. I then delved into all these other adaptations. I rewatched the Disney, was so fucking unimpressed because JM Barrie was definitely, racist in the product of his time type of racism, and Disney always needs to one up it and take it to the next fucking level and make it more racist than it originally was.
They are known for that.
And what was upsetting to me as a kid was how none of these adaptations seemed to be adaptations of what the book was saying. Mary Martin's was amazing and wonderful, but her Peter Pan was a joyful, fun character who loved life and, just made you feel safe and you were in a fun make pretend space. Disney's made you feel like he was just some 13-year-old prick that you were in school with. Didn't really make it. It didn't really, none of it really justified this character in the way that JM Barrie wrote him. And so I started collecting these versions of the story. And when I was in junior year of high school, something like that, they came out with a brand new live action version of the movie with Jeremy Sumter, Jason Isaacs, which is...
Those aren't real people.
They are. Jason Isaacs. He's...
Do I?
Yeah. And it's the closest, direct quotes wise, staging wise, characterization, it's the closest I've ever seen to matching J.M. Barrie's actual book. And I don't think it did particularly well, which really fucking upsets me because it was fucking brilliant. It's still one of my favorite movies to this day. So basically the gist of what I'm saying is that J.M. Barrie wrote about a child psychopath that was a murderer, a unfeeling murderer in a fairy tale land, and every adaptation dumbs that down a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's not an overly comfortable or familiar concept for people to consume. Mm-hmm. It's not the villain, but it has no morality.
It has no morality. And weirdly, Peter Pan in J.M. Barrie's novel, I know there's no room for you to ask questions because I'm just going to keep talking. I'm
not feeling the itch to ask questions, I promise.
That's fine. Okay, so Peter Pan in J.M. Barrie's novel is actually sort of a Davy Jones from a la Pirates of the Caribbean. The premise for what Peter Pan was supposed to be. Peter Pan was supposed to be it was originally a child at one point, a human child, and made a deal with the fairies that he would get to be an eternal child. Mm-hmm. But the cost of that was supposed to be that he would be the ferryman that shuttled children who passed away to the next life so that they wouldn't be scared on the journey to the other world. And Peter Pan said, fuck off. I'm not doing that shit. And went Davy Jones and went, I'm going to build my own place where I don't have to do my job and I can still be an eternal young boy forever. And that's how Neverland happened. And that's why Tinkerbell is a fucking traitor, because she went with him instead of fighting him and whatever.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so he fucked off from his responsibilities and instead was kidnapping live children and making them commit murder for him, which means that like Hook and his crew
Yeah.
were clearly a pirate ship that had sunk, and they had all died, and they were on their way to the next life and accidentally traveled through Neverland. And Hook got his fucking hand cut off by this psychopath boy who hates adults, and then felt like he had to stay and defend his honor, but really just also couldn't fucking move on to the next life. It's like yeah.
You would think so, but Hook doesn't seem to have, as part of his motivation, moving on doesn't really seem to be. Like, he's just fixated on Peter.
He's fixated on Peter. So I have, oh God, we're already, I was going to save this, but we're getting into my theory about why Hook is fixated on Peter is part of my like 8-page thesis on why I think JM Barrie is transgender.
I think it's
he's not he's no longer with us, but and we can't ask him, which was, if I could have a fucking seance, that would be the person I would call.
Interesting, because I never have a good answer for that hypothetical.
No, that's my one. I would sit him down and I would be like, hey, it's 2018 and people are trans now. Can you tell me, like, if you are that? Because, yeah. So JM Barrie wrote this book that in every, like, surface adaptation of it, it's very obvious that the conflict is that Peter doesn't want to grow up. And for some fucking reason, Hook is mad about that. Makes no goddamn sense. None of it. I mean, yeah, little boy not wanting to grow up, that makes sense, sure.
Well, isn't Hook the dad?
Hook is traditionally in the play played by the same actor as the dad of Wendy.
It's like Jumanji.
Yeah. Yeah, it is supposed to, that's the villain represents that thing. But also, I think...
Holy shit, Jumanji is Peter Pan. I just realized that Jumanji is very similar to Peter Pan in a lot of ways.
It is very similar to Peter Pan.
Interesting.
But the fact that the hunter in Jumanji is also the dad, in that represents that, like, the person that he had the most struggle with and could not like escape the damage done by was his father. So he's running away from that. For Peter, it's someone else's dad that represents his fucking enemy. It's not his own father. It's not any of his own parents. It's just
it's the parent. It's the embodiment of a father that the audience has an opportunity to see.
Yes, but I think it's more of a statement because there's no adult women in Peter Pan.
There's no
in Neverland.
Oh,
there's no adult. Okay. There's no adult women.
Right.
Like all
hence
of
the need for a mom.
Yeah. All of the indigenous person stereotypes. I'm not going to call them that word, but all of the indigenous stereotype characters, the women are all young. They're all Wendy's age or younger.
Oh, okay.
The mermaids are all young. Pirates, there are 0 women.
Sure.
Among the pirates.
Just Glenn Close.
Just Glenn Close. Yeah, no, Hook, that was the one deviation Hook took. Actually, Hook is very good at sticking within the canon, except for the fact that there were wenches on that boat.
There were, yeah.
Otherwise, pretty fucking spot on. And they included one of my favorite canon quotes, which no other movie does. So... Oh, this is wild. This is literally like the thing I think about the most often.
I'm really here for it.
I know. Oh God. So there are no adult women in Neverland, in this world, this like perfect world that Peter has created. And the only people he wants to harm are adults.
Right.
Adult men are the only thing that he wants to kill on this earth are adult men. And that is established. So in the story, Peter Pan, it's always made about like not wanting to grow up. He doesn't want to grow up. But when we talk about like why did he run away? Not wanting to grow up meant not wanting to fill that role that you eventually have to choose to fill. When you grow up, you will become a man. You will become this thing. And a man means certain things. It means an office. It means, and it was very childlike and super official, but being a man had a certain definition, and Peter could not abide by that, so much so that he ran away and made a deal with fairies, and then fucked off from that deal with fairies, and then still, became a child forever. When Hook comes into the picture, and Peter immediately attacks him for daring to be a man and forcing him to look at that horrible thing.
Yeah.
Hook is, his animosity towards Peter is always framed at him being insolent and not wanting to grow up and conform to what he's supposed to be. And Hook tells him this on multiple occasions, like that his ability to stay what he is why Hook hates and envies him. So their conflict is very strange and kind of not sensical in a real way. It's, most of the movies make it about revenge, like Hook is upset that Peter cut off his hand, so he's staying to seek revenge. But every time they speak, it's not about the hand. It's about you're so insolent for not growing up and not becoming a man, and in wanting to force him to do that, or seek revenge for him being jealous that he couldn't do that, whichever one you want to pick. So there's that. There's a tie-in to JM Barrie's life. So like if you've watched Finding Neverland, the JM Barrie's relationship to the Davies family is a real thing. And that movie actually did a pretty great job at characterizing it without answering any questions, really. But JM Barrie, the Scottish playwright and novelist, who was married to a beautiful woman who shared his status and wanted children and supported his career and all these great things. Mm-hmm. They didn't have sex. He didn't really care to spend time with her. He didn't really like her that much. He married her out of a societal pressure. It was what you did. You married who your family told you to marry, and you did the thing. So he did that thing, and he then avoided her forever. So speculation among other playwrights and people he knew was that maybe he's gay.
Sure.
But of course you don't come out and say that. Then he starts spending time with this other woman, also not having sex with her. So the speculation is, of course, then definitely he's gay, right?
Yeah.
But her kids are why he's spending time with her. Mama Davies had these children, these 3 boys, and she was widowed, and she was in debt, and she was ill, and basically like had no real, like, her status was in name only. She was otherwise a woman that, like, it would just be frowned upon to be spending any time with if you were a person of Barrie's status. But he had an easier time connecting with her children, these 3 boys, than he had allegedly connecting with any of his peers, his wife, anyone. And of course, then the rumor turned to, is he a pedophile? But she was always around. There was never, it was not them like spending alone time with these kids. Like, she was always there, or there was a doctor around. So it just, because she was ill all the time. Not like doctors were supervising his visits. Like, there were people around that didn't substantiate that. So that seems to be rumor only. And what I think is happening is almost sort of like a Holden Caulfield type of situation where he like cannot get along with people in his own age and status. And I think just based on some of the things in his real life and how they come out in this piece of fiction, which was his life's greatest work, is that I think maybe he had gender identity crisis and could literally like identify with children of any gender, but could not identify with adults at all, because becoming an adult to Barrie meant that you had to pick a side and you had to be in one of those roles, and those roles came with rules society put for you, and you had to conform to them, and that was it. And he could not do that in his life, and so he wrote this character that defied doing that and said, no, I'm not going to do it. And also fuck you all forever. I'm going to go off and make my own world where no one has to do that. And so Wendy comes into the picture, and she's a frustrating character for Peter because she loves him, like undyingly loves him. She loves him for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Even when she does go home and grows up. But she makes Peter's character so mad because she just even suggests that she would like to grow up and that she would like him to do it with her. And that is unexcusable. Becoming a man is inexcusable. Peter also refers to himself in all manner of ways except by gender. Other characters call Peter a boy throughout the film, but when Peter refers to himself, he refers to him as things like, I'm the best there ever was. I'm, who are you? I'm joy. I'm like things like that. He does not refer to himself as a boy. It's other characters, usually adult characters, putting that like label on him. And then the fucking nail in the coffin for me is Tinkerbell. Because JM Barrie, and I love this because everybody knows this, like, it seems universally known, this JM Barrie invented the birth of fairies. Do you know it?
The way that he says fairies are born in his world?
Yeah.
That it's like when a child laughs? Is that what it is?
When the first baby laughed for the first time, the laugh broke into 1,000 pieces, and that was the beginning of fairies.
Oh, okay.
So that's
I thought
the
there was
part.
a new fairy every time a new child laughed.
That was the beginning of fairies, and then from then forth, each time a new child is born, their first laugh, a fairy's born. A girl fairy for every girl child, a boy fairy for every boy child. Their fairies are gender matched for some fucking reason. But Peter didn't get one. Peter never got one.
It's because he never laughed.
No, he just didn't get one. And when he rebelled and ran away to Kensington Gardens, he found his own fairy and bonded with her on his own accord and made her his fairy, and it was a girl fairy.
Well, that's the best argument.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else is a great argument for a queer narrative, but that's...
Yeah. He literally went out and
sought
his own fairy, and he doesn't just refer to her as a friend or anything. He refers to her as his fairy, meaning that she's like the one that's bonded to him and the one that won't, that will always stay with him as long as he keeps believing that she exists.
That's a solid argument.
Yeah. So that's my nail in the coffin one. Everything else is definitely like pretty influential, but that's the strongest one. So yeah.
So why does he get Wendy? Why does he go get Wendy?
So Peter was obsessed with like trying to understand what it was like to have parents, because that was like the thing that he got to stay a boy forever.
Yeah.
But he abandoned what it was like to be like a kid. Like he didn't get to have parents, people care about him. So he was obsessed about watching that. So he went to families, usually families that were very caring and loving. And the Darling family was like one of those really doting, really loving families. And he loved to watch like them read stories to each other and do things that was the part of childhood that he was missing out on. He got to, murder a bunch of folks, and he got to play pretend all the time and live in a fantasy world, which was great, but he never got to be like loved or cared for or anything like that. So he was obsessed with that, and he would go and watch other families do that for their children with envy. And then he saw that Wendy took care of her younger brothers in sort of that way. She was like, Wendy's like 13. She's not like, she's on the cusp. She's a little too old. That's why when she goes to Neverland, her brothers forget that she's their sister, like in days. But Wendy can't let go. That's why she develops feelings for Peter. That's why she is on the cusp. She's starting to be too old to let Neverland ruin her and make her stay a kid forever, even though she still loves the sword fighting and the fantasy and the silliness and the play. So he's watching, and Wendy, tells her little brother's stories, make sure they go to bed, make sure they take a bath. Like she's this weird thing where she looks like him in terms of age, but is caring and motherly, and these traits that he's jealous of. When Peter introduces her, it's not that he like wants her to be his partner. He expresses a lot of jealousy. He's jealous of her name. He's jealous of her storytelling. He's jealous that she is a girl. Like, one of the things he says is one girl is worth more than 20 boys. And Wendy takes that as flirting, but Peter, I think, is saying it genuinely. Like, literally thinks, no, that's better. You're the better thing. And weirdly, when Wendy tells Peter later on that she wants to grow up, like, he's okay with her doing it. He hates the idea of growing up. He loathes it. It's his worst nightmare, and he hates anyone who dares to do it. But Wendy, the only girl on this island who chooses to grow up, he's like, yeah, I'll get you a ride. You know? Like that's fine. So there's so many things. I could literally go on forever about this. But yeah, so I think JM Barrie may have had some gender identity issues.
I'm curious about just based on the way that so I'm assuming that Peter is the author in some ways, not in all ways, but in some ways.
Yeah.
But in terms of the fixation with the family structure, which sort of makes sense with the Davies, I'm wondering if you know anything about Barry's upbringing or his relationship with his parents.
I know that he was brought up in a high societal family, and he was a very successful playwright. Like, before Peter Pan happened, he had success with his plays. So he was always meant to be a part of high society and to be successful. And there was a lot of pressure on him to marry not just any woman, but specifically this woman. And so I think that is something that is mirrored in his description of what Peter's only memories as a human child was like his parents like discussing what he needed to be. He'll do this and then he'll do that. He'll go to this college and then he'll become this thing. And then he'll marry and he'll have children, and that's when Peter was like, fuck you, goodbye. I don't have a super intimate knowledge of his exact like parental life, but I do know that he was born into a high pressure, high society
I just wonder if he hated his dad.
Yeah, I wonder about that, but he
or
did
if he had a sister that he really liked who died, or like, I don't know, I just feel like maybe
anything like that.
Yeah.
I do know that he got along with like 0% of his colleagues at like his male like colleagues at like the theater house and like other playwrights. Like, he had no healthy like peer relationships.
Because if he was just gay, he probably would.
Exactly. And I think it's more closeted than that. I think it's something that was more probably confusing than that and more isolating because, you're working in the theater. I feel like even then you got to bump into a gay every once in a while. Yeah. But like, no, spending this time with this other woman and like he cared for her, like paid for her medical bills and like things like that, like took care of this other woman who he had no sexual interest in, just so that he could like be inspired by her children who were dealing with the fact that she was sick and dealing with it being playful and like horsing around and not having to do any of these like adult things that he hated, and like just like making them put on plays and play pretend and whatever. So I think I think there's something more there at the very least. Sure, could he have actually have been a creep like some of the rumor mill was, but like it totally is possible.
I feel a little nervous about it.
Yeah, but like I just I don't dismiss that. I definitely don't, but I think
No, but you can make a solid argument.
I think really like what he's writing about is like jealousy of children and not attraction to them. Like jealousy that they don't have to conform to a gender, jealousy that they don't have to fit a role, jealousy that they haven't had to pick yet. All these things keep coming up over and over again in his story.
And I think that a big reason why my brain wants to go there is because of like the Lewis Carroll precedents. Like just finding something equatable in Wonderland and Neverland and, you know.
Yes. I am not.
And he was a creep show. I don't know if you know about that, but yeah.
Oh, no, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I read Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland like
yeah,
once when I was a kid, and that was it. I never re-explored it.
Yeah, there was a real Alice that he was like really obsessed with. That was like he had like a thing for like prepubescent little girls.
Yeah. Okay. See, there was no real Wendy.
And like bought one of the first cameras and like took lots of pictures of them.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. So I think that because of that, it's easy for me to be like, JM Barrie was like, that was kind of the same time, and it was a similar sort of story about not growing up, and but that's not a reason for me to make that assumption about JM Barrie.
Yeah, but there was a lot more like acid involved in Alice in Wonderland, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that the stories are different. I just think maybe some of the themes and how they interplay with childhood.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Yeah.
I also
absolutely.
feel like it was a similar time, but I don't actually know for sure when Peter Pan was published.
I also think it 1911.
So it was a little later.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 1911. So with Barrie, so Barrie's self-insert is Peter Pan.
Yes.
Very clearly. And in that story, like his self-insert, this child has no, like the romantic relationship with Wendy is Peter playing pretend and not actually feeling anything, which is, I think, what J.M. Barrie actually felt in his real life marriage. You're playing pretend, you're playing house. Yeah. It's all make believe. But he had no, like, he had a fatherly figurehood that he was also playing pretend at. Like, and I think kind of what he was doing with the Davies kids was he was playing at fatherhood. He never actually had to take care or responsibility of these kids, but he was playing at it in kind of a way. He was not remotely capable of being any of those things, but he played with them and like tested them out. And I think that's what Peter Pan is an exploration of. Yeah, I definitely God, if I could fucking seance him to this room right now, that would be my big question. I'd be like, hey, guess what's okay right now? Like, guess what's acceptable and cool and totally like well researched? It's a thing. Are you this?
Yeah.
It would be that.
So in addition to the source material and Hook and the high school live action, what sort of other adaptations or inspired things do you like?
Yeah, everything. So I've been really obsessed with gathering everything that's Peter Pan inspired or related. So I have pop-up books of Peter Pan, the original book, like the annotated, not annotated, the abridged version, the abridged version that was often in like those, what were those books called? The ones with like the that you always had as a kid, were really short, like simplistic books of your childhood stories. They always had like gold border.
I can see it.
I feel like they have a name or whatever. Oh God, listeners, help us out. But I
feel like it has something to do with gold.
I think it does. So I have a big pop-up version of that's beautiful and gorgeous. I have the same original J.M. Barrie's book that I had found that one day, the childhood one that I've scribbled all over when I was a little kid. I have
They're
Brahms.
called Little Golden Books.
Little Golden Books. Perfect. Okay. I have Brahms' version of Peter Pan, which is called The Child Thief, which is, Brahm is a guy that I wrote for some role-playing game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Or did the art for, or whatever the fuck he did. I don't remember. I don't have the energy to remember right now. I'm too obsessed with Peter Pan. But he wrote a book called The Child Thief that's very, very good, where he tries to write a dark version of Peter Pan. When I heard about that the first time, I laughed because I was like, did you read Peter Pan? It's about a child sociopath murdering people and laughing as he does it, and then sending children to go die in his name for his own battles. Like, it's a fucked up story. The difference being that Brahms' book is more obvious about it. That it makes the character, instead of a child that like lures children away with like promises of fun and happiness, like legitimately goes and hunts out abused like preteens and steals them in the night and then forces them to go and commit violent crimes and die for him.
I think where Brahm really stands out with that adaptation is how much lore he puts into Neverland.
Yes.
Rather than redefining Peter as being darker.
Yes. The Neverland that's a really good point.
And that's why I liked all the Neverland related stuff. I liked the tree shit and the Fae court shit.
Yes.
The rest of it was like, it's just Peter Pan.
It's just Peter Pan. The Peter Pan character really essentially isn't changed, but Avalon's totally right. It's really about how much lore he put in and made it more Fae.
He did a good job with that. He made it more Fae. I think it was pretty well written. I think that I cared about the main character was the problem.
I did at first.
Or like not that I wasn't emotionally invested. It's just that I wasn't interested.
Yeah. I cared about them at first, but then I was more interested in other parts of the story, and I wasn't following them. Yeah. So I have that. I have Peter Panzerfaust, which is like a World War II comic book adaptation where Peter Pan is like a World War II like spy.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I like literally if it has anything remotely to do with Peter Pan, or is Peter Pan based at all, I will take it. I will have it, and I will live it in my life. I love Peter Pan.
Interesting. I want to find more stuff because I feel like
there's gotta be. I'm sure. I know there's more.
Is there a JM Barrie biography?
There's. You know what I don't have is I don't have. I've read them from the library, but I don't have them. There's some hard-ish to find sequels or prequels. Like there's Peter in Kensington Gardens, which is like a prequel. It's his time spent with the fairies in Kensington Gardens before he makes the deal and goes. There's, so he has written some other material about Peter Pan, the character, about those characters that never became as important.
Interesting.
There's other JM Barrie original material I'd like. There's something I keep wanting to buy. I keep seeing it and then I keep losing it because I keep seeing it in like Pinterest ads and then forgetting to bookmark it. But and it's winter time now, so I really want to, I think I need to like just buy them right now. But they're like arm warmers that are dark green and have just like text from JM Barrie's original novel all over them.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. But there's been other, who did a really cool adaptation, I think, is Once Upon a Time. I think Once Upon a Time did a really great job.
Yeah, I actually meant to bring that up and then I forgot about it because I am so deeply closeted with that show that I just tend to assume people don't want to talk about it.
I'm not caught up. I'm like a season behind. But I thought
the Peter stuff, yeah.
I thought the Peter Pan stuff they did was maybe some of the best that they did. I think they did a great job of literally, like, I know that they've they've been reimagining the characters so far, but their
Yeah.
Peter Pan was pretty much Peter Pan. Like,
it was like
dark and sinister and
like so dark.
and
It was
yeah. I thought that they did a great job. It had the energy of Brahm, but it's still like it was very, very well done. I think that was really cool. Yeah.
I mean, that show is not like, it's pretty indefensibly bad sometimes. And there are times that it pulls in Disney franchises that I just like, it's just annoying to me that I'm even having to
I
look
got
at
very
it.
annoyed with the
Frozen.
Elsa and the
I don't fucking
yeah,
care.
I got it.
Yeah. And it shark jumps like no other. But I did like the Peter Pan thing. Yeah. How do you feel about like Hook though?
Hook is great. And Hook, the only thing that Hook actually deviates from is that like
That he's so fuckable.
Are you talking about Hook? Are you talking about Hook him's the Captain Hook? You're saying Dustin
No, I'm talking
Hoffman
about
is
Hook
fucking...
in Once Upon a Time.
Oh, Hook in Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the movie Hook. Sorry.
No, like Dustin
Yeah,
Hoffman.
no, Hook in Once Upon a Time. Good God. Oh,
Right.
I need to like hold on to the walls. He is so...
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
like-
it's offensive.
It's really like I almost said something offensive right now about his jacket. God, like that's also another like bisexual dilemma I'm having where like I don't know if I want to look like him or if I want to like fucking stare at him.
For
like,
him, it's definitely both. I have no dilemma.
Yeah, I feel that it's like a minute to minute, like I want to be you and I want to do you at the same time.
Yeah. But Dustin
sweating.
Hoffman Hook. Great movie.
Dustin Hoffman Hook.
Less fuckable, better writing.
Dustin Hoffman Hook for a fucking made up sequel
Yeah.
that had nothing to do with JM Barrie's original content. They stuck to those character traits, like Hook having issues with like Hook is pathological. He cannot deviate from his code that
Yeah.
he has made. Took is pure lawful evil. He's the prime example of lawful evil. He's a bad guy, but he has rules that he has made up that he will not break.
Yeah.
And Hook kept that. Like, it's awesome. It's so good. And they kept one half. No movie has ever kept the full dialogue of my favorite exchange in that fucking play. When Peter and Hook finally have their like final fight, Peter and Hook are like about to start killing each other. Hook says, "Proud and insolent youth, prepare to meet thy doom." And Peter says, "Dark and sinister man, have at thee." And then they have their final fight. In the 2003, Jeremy Sumpter says his line, but Hook doesn't say his. And in the Hook one, Hook says his line and Peter skips his. And so I've never had like a movie adaptation where they have that full dialogue, but I think it's like one of the...
That seems very odd.
I think it's one of the most powerful because it really is like, here's the summary of why we hate each other.
Yeah.
Like, this is it right here in 6 words. Like, we are now summing this up.
Yeah. Wasn't there a recent film?
What was that?
Wasn't there a recent film like within the past 3 years? No, doesn't exist. Okay. They must have scrapped that.
Avalon. It was called Pan, and I'm
Yeah.
so disappointed in Wolverine. Can I just
right.
tell you? I'm
Was
so
he Hook?
upset with Wolverine. I know that Jacked Man is a joy of a person.
I love
And
Huge Jacked Man.
I love him.
And I don't
know
even
that
care
it's-
about him being too tall to be Wolverine.
I don't care at all.
don't
It's
care.
not his fault.
No.
No, he's great. He's wonderful, and he loves musicals, and he's lovely. He's a good boy. Pan was, and I feel comfortable with this because usually, if other people were enjoying it, I would step aside
It's true.
and let them enjoy it. But it was
You are
a
a
bad
big person.
movie that no one enjoyed, and it was a fucking abomination to the text. Like in a way that was so embarrassing. Hook already had his hook when he met Peter. What the fuck? He was also a cowboy
What?
that had a cowboy hat on and chewed straw. Blackbeard sang Nirvana songs. Like No, there was like a weird musical interlude where Blackbeard the pirate came out onto a ship and sang "Smells Like Teen Spirit," but they like sang the whole song.
Oh, geez.
Like it was so like it could have been like maybe like a silly moment or like maybe a hype moment, but they did like the entire song. It was
it like
too...
Did Baz Luhrmann do it? Like it feels like a weird sort of like never get too comfortable with the setting. Like was it like Moulin Rouge? Was it like in terms of the anachronistic or like whatever? Yeah.
It like it was. It definitely had an anachronistic vibe, but like it didn't have that. Moulin Rouge is very fast paced and like music video-esque, which is why I thought that it was you were always comfortable with the camp because you were on to the next thing.
Sure.
You know, like this like every scene lasted for fucking ever.
Oh,
and like
like
it was so. Of course, I watched it because I can't not. I have to. I see Peter Pan on the fucking title. I have to watch it and consume it. But it was so slow and bad and like embarrassing and boring and just wretched in every way. It was so bad.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah. The other one that happened not so long ago, like 5 years ago, they did the live.
Yeah, with the girl from
Yeah, they
Girls.
did the live TV broadcast. I feel bad for being shitty about that one. I was at the time because the thing is that it's a tradition. It's a traditional thing, those like live TV broadcasts. They are always bad.
I don't know why they've been doing them. I don't know why and why it became a thing again.
It has always been a thing. It's
But we
always
don't live
been
in a
bad.
pure enough time for that to exist
No,
anymore.
exactly. But like they don't do enough of like the prep work of like a real stage show. And the quality of the recording is not the same as a real like TV broadcast. So it's like the worst of both worlds. It's like if you had like 1 month to put on a play and also your cousin was shooting it with his Steadicam. Like it's not a Broadway show. It's not a TV drama. It's neither. It's just a shitty amalgam of both. And so that's why those always suck. The Sound of Music sucked. I'm sorry, Stephen Moyer. It was bad. They always suck. So I knew that one was going to suck. The thing with that one that annoyed me was that and I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, was that instead of just skipping the offensive Native American song, they like tried to quickly like scritch write a new one and put in a new song in place. And it was just so bad. And I was just like, just skip it. It's offensive. We all know it's offensive. Just skip the offensive song. Yeah. Nobody's going to question you. It's not part of the plot. Like, it's not going to take away from anything. Just skip over it. I was just like,
Is it bad enough that it's worth watching or no? I haven't watched any of those live things because, like, that's not my thing. I'm not a musical person.
It's not good. And it's not good, and it's boring. It's not like hilariously bad. If you want to watch something that's hilariously bad, I would say watch Pan.
Okay.
With huge jacked man.
Well, so what do you think, if anything, you would like to see created? Do you want another movie that's like really true to the book? Do you want a prom movie? Do you want like a kick-ass prequel? Do you want a really great comic book? Like, what do you want?
What I would love, because I think Hook did a phenomenal job at being a sequel. Even if it diverged from canon a little bit, it's a fucking plus material.
Yeah.
And I think the 2003 Jeremy Sumter was a fucking plus as well. What I would love is one for those two things to be like more fucking popular. I guess Hook is extremely popular, but I would love the 2003 to be more popular.
I think the 2003 wasn't popular because of the special effects. I think people just didn't like it aesthetically. Like, that's why I didn't like it. I thought like it was too like, I didn't like the colors or something about it just wasn't pleasant for me to watch.
I get that. If I could get you to sit down and do it again though, I would.
I wouldn't be hard to.
What I would love one of the prequel stories to be told. I would love for Kensington Gardens to be like a story that was put on film, or to be, you know what? It would never reach any sort of mainstream audience. So like a comic book series about Kensington Gardens and the fairies. It's like Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell was like a pauper, essentially. She was a tinker fairy. That's why she had her name. She like washed pots and pans. That was her job in her like
that
fairy
doesn't seem
cove.
like a real fairy job.
And
I feel like you've got like magic for that, or you're not, or they don't eat.
Yeah, no,
or they eat
it's
things
like,
that don't need to be prepared.
yeah. She was like worked. She was like worked manual labor.
Sure.
As a
I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So she kind of got to like upgrade her life, and also die a couple times by hanging out with Peter and attaching herself to him. He hints. It's nice because like JM Barrie like hints in the beginning of the book about like fairy life, like just the tiniest bit, just mentioning that like all the fairies had different jobs and they were like named for those jobs and things like that. So I think it would be really cool to have like an expansion on that, and to have like more of JM Barrie's fairy world in some sort of, you know, show or comic or anything like that.
Are you a fan of Finding Neverland?
I loved it. I thought it was really well done.
Did you see it on stage?
On stage?
Yeah.
No.
It's like a Broadway show, right?
No, I didn't get to do that. I don't go to Broadway shows anymore. It sucks.
I know,
but
like that one, you know.
I know, I should, absolutely. But yeah, no. I thought that the movie was perfect. It was so well done, and it was very accurate to his life, and they didn't really delve into the pedophilia rumors so much,
No,
but like the rumors about his sexuality and stuff, and his intentions, and all of those things going around, and that was all very real. And
it was back when we were allowed to enjoy a performance from Johnny Depp.
I weirdly forgot that was him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, fuck him.
Fuck him indeed. I'm just saying,
I don't.
It's nice that I got to see that movie and enjoy it without hating him the whole time.
Yeah, that's true. I just, I guess my praise of the movie is not going towards anybody's particular acting, although Kate Winslet is a joy. But the fact that this movie was made and in the first place,
really well,
and that
it
was so accurately done about his life is really fascinating to me. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So my Peter Pan is King Arthur, and I'm not trying to take over this topic, but
no, I've never known that about you.
Yeah, I feel like not surprisingly because of my name. But yeah, my mom was like super into Arthurian legend, so I just kind of grew up around it. That's why I'm named Avalon.
I don't know why those things are related. Like, I literally know nothing about this. You have to do this as a topic.
You don't know my name, Diana?
Well, no, I know your name. I don't know anything about this topic. I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, I know, like, Sword in the Stone. Like, that's
Sure.
the end of my knowledge about...
Did you know that Avalon was related to King Arthur?
No, I know none of that.
What the what? So
no, Avalon, this is no. This is an episode.
I know I'm not going to delve into it, but
Okay, good.
I don't think it's delving into it to clarify, because you should totally know that that's what Avalon is from. Avalon is not a character, though. Avalon is like the afterlife paradise place that Arthur goes to until he's needed again and he'll be summoned again. I'm not going to say anything more because I can say so much about it. But
yeah,
just want to clarify
this is
that Avalon
great.
is not one of the female characters. Avalon is like the heaven place. And the reason I brought this up is because I wondered where Peter is now. Like, if this is real, if King Arthur is real, is sort of the way that I'm equating it. Is Peter still there? Or was he like aging so slowly? Or
no, Peter was never aging. The Hook version of things was never in JM Barrie's predictions.
Sure.
In his predictions, he does come back to see Wendy a couple of times, and does try to like bring her off on adventures, but she's growing up and she doesn't have time to do that shit anymore.
Ain't got time for that shit.
Yeah, ain't got time for that. But Peter never ages, never grows up, and eventually forgets her.
Yeah.
Tinkerbell dies, he forgets her too. Like,
That's canon?
Yeah.
Why does she die?
Peter, Because she's a fairy. Fairies have really short lifespans.
That's
They live
dumb.
they live less time than humans in JM Barrie's canon. He literally forgets who Captain Hook is. Like mermaids and things will bring up the battle of the massacre of the Jolly Roger, which is what it's known to be in Neverland history. And his only one person survived, and that was Smee. And Peter doesn't remember it at all. Like, so none of these things are consequential to him. He gets a new fairy. It's also another girl. Like he but he forgets because he's always a child. Sorry. So forgetting the Hook alternate timeline where there's a world where Peter grows up and becomes a human being. In J.M. Barrie's universe, Peter would literally never stop existing as a perpetual child. There's no way for that to happen unless returned and stayed on Earth. It would not happen.
But do you think he might have
so
done that?
Peter would still be there.
Do you think he's still taking kids?
Oh, he has to be. He has to have people to fight his battles for him.
Do you think he's gotten more evil, or do you think he stayed the same?
Because his memory does not last. He can't grow. He can't grow in either direction. He can't become more evil or more good. He just stays perpetual because, like, in a few weeks, his memory is fucking erased, essentially. Like, he does not remember shit. He doesn't remember his best friend.
Do you think that he's had more, like, battles and enemies on the scale of Hook and the Jolly Roger?
Yeah,
in the
he absolutely has.
200 years.
Absolutely. No, he's fought pirates before. Hook is the book is presented to us as though this is like a snapshot of his life that has repeated 1,000 times. Like he's had 1,000 Wendy's, he's had 1,000 Captain Hooks, he's had 1,000 Lost Boys. Like
Has he had 1,000 Tinkerbells?
He's had 1,000. Tinkerbell was his first fairy.
But if she has a short life...
But she has a short life, and so he has 1,000 more of those. And they all mean exactly the same thing to him. And they matter exactly as much. Because he's just reliving the same thing over and over again. He has his memory just goes away. He doesn't form attachments. Nothing is there. It is sad. Well, Wendy literally wears a fucking pink satin sash on her fucking wedding day, hoping that Peter Pan will abandon Neverland and show up and whisk her away. Like, these people human beings make attachments. And that was also James' like story too, was that like, and I think that was true. Like his wife, like even though he never spent time with her, never gave her affection, never loved her, never made love to her, none of that stuff. She was still heartbroken when he left. And, like, he wrote that shit in. He absolutely wrote that shit in. Clearly, we've explored the fact that my headcanons, my unhealthy obsession is very, very hyperfixated. And I love this source material. I love a lot of the spin-off material. I love a lot of the interpretations. There are very few that I'm critical of, mainly Pan. Disney's also actually weirdly I hate. I think they camp it up too much, and also like they ramp up the racism to a level that is beyond what is in the book.
Since I was a kid. So I know that that's true, but I haven't actually experienced it.
I mean,
in
it's
a
a la Disney. It's just what they do. But like,
wow, but I'm pretty sure that
it's like of the times racism versus like Disney racism, and it's like a little too much. It's more than what you can be like. Oh, it was a time period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Peter Pan. Do you have any other?
I guess, like, who's your favorite character?
Smee is fascinating to me because he's mocked mercilessly by the Lost Boys. He's the only survivor of the massacre of the Jolly Roger for no other reason but because the Lost Boys felt like he was so unthreatening that they didn't have to kill him.
Yeah.
And, like, he was, like, so like he was like emasculated and like embarrassed off the Jolly Roger, like that, like he just got to like sadly walk away because they were just like, oh, well, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
There you go. You can live. We killed everybody else. But his like relationship to Captain Hook and like this sort of also like doormatty kind of relationship that he had with the captain is also like another maybe layered issue in I guess the literary adaptations of different fucking personality disorders, but like Smee is a weird case. Like he's non-violent, has like a good aligned morality, but is somehow still like riding with this like murderous pirate captain and obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And won't leave his side and would like die for him, but like none of the kids will kill him because he's just not worth your time and energy. Like Smee is a really weird fucking character.
Is Smee potentially like gay self-loathing?
Like I think maybe because like he's just like unimportant, but he's such a recurring character.
Yeah.
Like such a prominent character, but he's perpetually like described as unimportant and unworthy of even your violence. Like, he's just nothing to you. Slightly is my favorite Lost Boy, because all the Lost Boys are real like children. They are not like Peter. They were not like the children he was supposed to be taking care of. They are live children who've been taken to a place of unlife. So they are still like trying to cope with that. So all of them are still like coping with identity issues, and Peter does not deal with that well. So like the twins, Peter calls them twins, and Peter makes them do shit in unison because he doesn't understand what twins are. So he like
Christ.
he does not like it. It makes him feel uncomfortable. So he makes them do shit at the same time and have the same opinions and have the same name because he doesn't get what twins are.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's canon. So slightly is interesting. You have Nibs, who plans the battles. You have Toodles, who's like sort of silly and forgetful. You have Slightly is one of the older boys, and he really prides himself on remembering stuff from the real world, even though he doesn't, because none of them do. But he wants to. So he always brings it up, like when Peter gives Wendy an acorn and she pins it to her lapel. Toodles' arrow hits it and knocks her out of the sky. They all think she's dead, but when Wendy like shows that she's alive and they look and see that the arrow hit the acorn, Peter says, "Oh, my kiss saved her." And Slightly is like, "I remember kisses. Let me see it." And he looks at it and goes, "Yes." A kiss. And like he always like he does that with several times throughout where he's like, I remember that. Let me evaluate.
So
I'm the
sweet.
expert on earthy stuff. But he's always wrong because he's never seen any of it at all. Yeah, so I like Slightly a lot.
I like that answer.
Yeah, he's a really good character, and it's a really interesting concept, and it's also just like very insightful about how kids are, like to try to like want to be the one that knows about adult stuff.
Yeah,
but
I'm still
doesn't
that way.
actually know about it. Yeah, like
that's what this podcast is.
It's such good writing of a child. Like,
okay, so you talking about Slightly and Lost Boys. I feel like this episode we really need to talk about a Lost Boy that's not technically canon, but I think we should just go ahead and say is canon, and that's Rufio.
Rufio is absolutely canon.
Rufio is maybe the most beautiful part of that movie.
He's the most beautiful part of that movie because he literally is the new... He does encapsulate the new Peter Pan. He's arrogant. He's self-centered. He's childlike, but he's also, like, powerful and influential. He was the new Peter Pan. He had taken up that role. He fits all of the fucking boxes. Yeah. And he wanted a fucking parent. Mm-hmm. Like, he wanted to have a fucking parent. And then Peter Pan, I will cry about Hook right now. And then Peter Pan fucking shows up and at first is like trying to take his place and it feels like he's trying to encroach. But really, you can't undo becoming an adult. That was JM Barrie's thing. You can't, once you make that decision to grow up, you can't undo it. You can't not be it anymore. So Hook comes back. And yes, he's playing and he's engaging and he's encroaching on Rufio's territory, but also he's taking care of him and like.
But that movie asserts that you can go back because Peter forgets.
He starts to, He starts to forget his kids. Well, that's Neverland, though. That's not, like that's Neverland's magic is that you start to forget. Like Hook can't like fucking get a handle on the fact that you died 35 years ago. Like Hook can't like fucking process any of his own shit.
Well, I think that I'm jumping around, but I just want to say that I think that Rufio's death scene is really well acted.
It's beautifully
I think
done.
It's very impressive. I think that that kid should have had a career.
Like Robin Williams like stopping mid-flight and that whole.
But he was always a second-rate Peter.
Yeah. And he was trying.
Peter wouldn't have died.
Peter wouldn't have died. No. Because Peter was not human anymore. Not for a long time. And also didn't care if he did die. Peter almost died multiple times and was happy about it. Was like, whatever. And
I wonder if he had been run through, if he would have had a moment. I wonder if like Barrie Peter, not like old Robin Williams Peter, had been run through like Rufio, if he would have had a similar moment of wishing.
Barry's Peter has a moment on 2 moments. He has 2 moments. One where he's abandoned on the rock, which is meh. When he's abandoned on the rock, he kind of knows that somebody's coming for him, but he gives this little soliloquy about how he doesn't care and death is the next adventure. But he does get caught by Hook and like stabbed and has Hook with his hook up ready to like just claw him down, and he's just like, what an adventure. Peter has no concept of life or death. He's still a kid. None of this means anything to him. Finality is nothing. People have died and he has forgotten about it. So it's not real to him. He doesn't have to care. So Rufio is not that way. Rufio is a real human live person.
Was Rufio like in Hook? Was Rufio supposed to have been a lost boy when Peter left? Because I always got the sense that he had arrived after Peter left, but I guess that doesn't make sense. Yeah,
I wished they had explained it because some of the Lost Boys were there when Peter was still there, because some of them still remember Toodles and
and the one that touches his face.
That scene was so good. They don't explain who got there later, but Rufio, the way that he talks about him like a legend and not like someone he knew.
Right.
Talking about the Pan, whereas some of them talk about him in a way that makes you think that they were still there. They were there. So I think Rufio showed up and there was a power vacuum and he like
I
wanted
think you're
to take
right.
it.
Yeah. I just don't know how he got there logistically.
I mean, just by looking fly. Like having a fucking great mohawk and like having sick motor like skateboarding skills. Look, I can literally talk about Peter Pan for the next 3.5 fucking hours.
I know.
So we're gonna have to end. I can literally, listeners, if anyone wants to fucking talk about Peter Pan, I literally will be up anytime you want to message me. Like, it's fine. Email the podcast if you want to talk more about Peter Pan. I'll talk about Peter Pan for the rest of my life. But this is a podcast, so we should end it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, between now and the next podcast, feel free to, in addition to emailing us, like Diana just suggested, at femsplainedpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter at femsplainedcast, on Instagram at femsplainedpodcast, and Twitch.
Femsplained on Twitch.
Femsplained.
You can listen to us wherever you're listening to us. We're on Stitcher, we're on Podbean, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Play. on iTunes. We're pretty much wherever. So just fucking do it.
Wherever.
You're already doing it. But it would be
keep doing
super
what you're
great
doing.
if you would fucking rate us and subscribe.
Yeah.
If you are listening to it, that would be super fucking nice. That'd be great. Oh, I have to say, Avalon, what are you going to go do right now?
Oh, I'm going to go hang out with Francis because he's leaving tomorrow balls early to go out of town for a few days.
I'm going to go hang out with Francis tomorrow night. And tonight I'm probably going to watch Peter Pan because now
You should. That makes sense.
I think I'm going to.
Yeah, I think we're going to go. He just bought Starlings, so we're going to give that a shot.
That's awesome. Okay. I love you.